Warning, I'm just having fun with old cars. I hope you get some tips and a good laugh from watching, but don't do what I do on your projects. Oh shoot. Is that thing recording? Hey, what is up, everybody? Sorry you had to see that. Notice everybody else has women posing in their thumbnails, so I thought I'd try the poses myself. I don't know. Maybe it'll get me some extra views. Well, I'm sorry you guys had to see that, but you know, car parts are expensive, and I really don't feel like I have the attributes for OnlyFans, so you know, you gotta do what you gotta do, okay? Car parts are expensive. But anyway, moving on. So I literally just got this thing running again. For you guys, it was last video. For me, that was yesterday. So I'm gonna do the right thing and take it all apart again. So what we gotta do, I've showed it, but the bottom of the one fender has rust in it, and I want to put new rockers in it because they have rust in them. The part that sucks is I'm gonna have to pull the hood and the fenders. I'm gonna try and leave the doors on it. I think I can do it with the doors on. It's not gonna be the easiest, but it is what it is. And I'm gonna try and leave it as together as I can. It's gonna take me a little longer to take it apart because of the way I want to do it, but I think it'll be better for me personally if I can leave it where I can still start it up and move it around if I need to, because I don't really like tying up the carport, and we're supposed to get a bunch of rain next week, so it'd be nice if I can move this thing out of the carport and put my wife's car in here, because it's a lot nicer than this piece of junk, and still have the motor and everything covered up, not have to worry about it. So we're already a couple minutes into this video. I haven't done anything, so I'm going to, I don't know, I'm gonna pull the fenders, I'm gonna pull the hood off, pull the fenders off. It's going to take me a while. I'll probably just update you throughout the process. Maybe show some short clips of it coming apart. The hood is not going to be fun to do by myself, but it is what it is. We'll just figure it out. And we're going to, hopefully, I'd like to say we're going to get the rust fixed in that fender today, but I don't know how that's going to go. The normal deal that I tell you guys every time I got a later start than I wanted, I had to upload this week's video and edit it this morning. So whatever. You don't care. I shouldn't care. Let's get some work done. Come on. Okay. I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing. I'm about to take the hood off. But a couple small tips. If you can use some sort of battery powered or air powered ratchet or something, it makes it easier. You don't gotta sit there and crank on the bolts. It makes it easier, especially when you're one person. You have to juggle the hood. Also, you can scribe. A lot of people do different things. They drill holes in the brackets and into the hood so you can realign it back where it was. You can scribe around the bolts or you can scribe on the hood where the hinge was. Mine is not aligned well at all, so I did scribe around the bolts just because, but I'm gonna try and realign the whole front end when I get to that point. If you don't have a scribe, which I have but I couldn't find, I just grabbed just a wood screw. It's got a good enough point on it. You can use it as a scribe, works just fine. And I think pretty much everybody has wood screws laying around somewhere, probably. Take one out of your porch if you got to. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm gonna get the hood pulled off and hopefully not injure myself. And then, yeah, we'll move on to try and get the fenders off. And just like that, we're hoodless. Now I gotta figure out how to get these fenders off. Okay, I got the one fender off. I'm going to show you the problem areas and tip, if you will. And then I'm going to get the other side pulled off. And then once I get that side off, this kind of is a little more than I had hoped to get the fender off. You know, there's some hidden bolts I didn't know about. We'll say that. I'm going to show you this real quick. Now I'm going to get the other side pulled off. The weather is not looking great, but we're going to get as far as we can. I'm still kind of hoping to be able to at least get close to having this patch panel put in today, but we'll see. Let me flip it around and show you where I'm. So this obviously is the issue. It turns out, I'm going to say that this fender came off a different truck, which is probably why it's rusted and the other side isn't. But whatever, it's not a big deal. My advice for bolts, a lot of people say you gotta bag them and put tags on them, but I say if you can do it, just thread them all back in where they came out. For me, that's the easiest way to not lose them. And over here, I just went ahead and put these bolts back in and put the shims that go with them back in. You can see how rough the paint is back here, so I'll have to try and clean all that up. But yeah, I was kind of prepared for that. So that's kind of the update. I gotta pull this other side apart. Yeah, I'm gonna do that, and then we'll maybe start putting a patch panel in. Maybe. Okay, well, I got the other side stripped down, kind of straightened everything up a little bit, so I can start working on this. This is the problem area. Obviously, I don't know if somebody jacked it up by this spot or what. And then obviously all the rust holes. The frustrating part about this is it was bonded over, which I hate. Just don't do that. But it is what it is. I've got... I didn't realize when I ordered this, but this is like a full inside and outside panel that we'll be replacing this with. So I really didn't need the inside portion. I wish I would have realized that, because it might have been cheaper to order the outside one. But I don't know if they even sell it that way. That's what I got. So the bad thing about these patch panels is most of the time the body lines are not great. And like the curvature of it usually doesn't match up. But we'll just, we're gonna do the best we can. But the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna strip all the paint off this and figure out exactly how much I've got to fix. And then it makes it a little harder with this being all smashed, but I'll try and figure out how much of this I'm going to use. I don't, personally, I like to use as minimal of the new metal as possible and leave as much factory metal as I can. That's just my preference. You could put this whole panel on and come all the way past the body line and stuff, but there's just no need to. The metal's still good up there. So I don't like to cut out more than I have to. And like I said, usually like the body lines, most of the time they don't line up very good. So yeah, I'm going to strip the paint off this thing and maybe kind of lay out some marks, and I'll show you guys what I got then. Hang on. Okay, well, here's the update. This is way worse than it even looked, because there was a bunch of body filler that I either didn't know about or forgot about, or both. But somewhere right in here, I think we'll be safe to cut this thing. It's nice when these panels aren't like this, because you can really use them as a good template. Which, honestly, I'll probably cut the damaged section out and still use the best part of it to kind of transfer over. But the other thing, I don't know how well you can see, but this section right here on the inside is pretty rough too. So my game plan for that, hold on, is I'm gonna drill the spot welds out of it, which are 1, 2, 3, and then there's a couple down here, and I'm going to actually drill the spot welds out of this and just transfer that panel over. So that will take care of the inside, and it'll just be spot welds, so it'll look factory. And honestly, I think it's a little easier. Yeah. Sometimes the hardest thing about like this kind of stuff is just getting started. Once you start cutting, you'll figure it out. But making the decision on what exactly you're going to do and then starting it is usually the hardest part, at least for me. Because once I'm in it, I usually work myself out of it. But that's always the struggle. But yeah, I think I'm going to maybe lay down a tape line, draw out some spot welds. If you watched my drip weld video from this truck, I showed you the little Harbor Freight spot weld driller that I use. I think I still have one of them left. If not, you can just use you can either use a drill bit or you can just grind them. I know a lot of people do that. I don't know. I don't mind using the spot weld driller, so that's usually what I do until I break all the ones that I have on hand, and then I'll start grinding them out. It's honestly usually how it works. But I'm gonna get to work on that. Probably once I get that back panel off, I'll kind of check in with you and then start cutting the front off and start laying it out on here so we can get this over with. Come out. Okay, it's update time. So I took and removed this piece. Obviously I removed it out of the fender, and then I removed it from the patch panel because we're going to use it and just spot weld it in like factory. You can kind of see the bottom. So one thing I will say is I used a couple different techniques for getting the spot welds out. These ones here, on the fender, I drilled them straight through because I knew that I was going to have to weld these up once I get this finalized, which won't be until after we get the outside finalized. These ones, however, I did not. I drilled them, but just enough to get the two panels separated on the patch panel, because I'm gonna have to spot weld these back together once I get the outside fitted. So I did not want to have a great big hole, which this spot weld driller is decent, but it's only good if you're trashing the panel that you're cutting the spot welds out of, because it makes a great big hole and it's just unnecessary. So I just used a 1/4-inch drill bit, and I went far enough to where I could get the panels to separate. As you can see, it all came apart pretty good. Didn't really damage any of the panels, which is what I was looking for. This is going to take a little bit of work to get lined up and tweaked and fit and everything, which is just normal for these. So that's kind of, now I've got that in place. I'm going to flip it over and start working on the outside patch panel. Yeah, there's not really much to it. I've been time-lapsing this stuff, but depending on how the last video went, I may not include any of that. I may just have these updates. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'm gonna flip it over and start working on the outside, and probably once I got that cut off, kind of idea of where I'm headed, I'll show you that. So that'll be the next update. Hang on. Guess what time it is? Update time. I don't know. It reminded me of Tool Time. If any of you remember that show, the greatest one of all. Yeah, so sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I did a bunch of cutting. and I have like the very first very rough mock-up of the outside, and I'll kind of show you the step I'm at, because it's kind of an in-between step. I've already cut a bunch, but I also am not anywhere near a final cut and fit. So this is kind of my process. I'm sure there's better ways to do it. I'm sure some of you are more experienced and more qualified than me. That's fine. If you have advice that will help me, please drop it down below. But let me show you this real quick. So this is kind of where I'm at. Again, this is super rough because this is literally my first cuts. So I took, you can see it down there, I trimmed this. I intentionally left it really long over what I'm going to need. These measurements here, I laid out the best I could. I laid out measurements from different reference points so I could transfer rough measurements to this panel, which is kind of what this tape line is. It's not perfect, but it tells me where I don't want to cut below. So at least I don't cut too much, because it's a lot harder to put it back, as I'm sure most of you know. So as you can see here, it's still got to come down a lot. Maybe, let's just, hang on. This is going to fall. It's gonna be loud. Okay. So this is the inside. And like I said, obviously it's got to come down, I don't know, half, 3/4, half or 5/8 of an inch probably. But I left a bunch of material on here so that I could kind of work my way at it. I did on these where it overlaps the corner here and here. I tried to cut most of that away just to make it easier to do test fits, because if you got to go over this doubled up edge, it makes it very hard to get an accurate idea of where you're at. But yeah, that's what I got so far. My next move will be I'm going to mark the inside of this panel and probably cut it right on that line, which should bring us, we should be able to move the panel a little lower and get closer to our final fit. You just gotta take your time and don't cut too much, because that's the hardest thing to fix. The other thing I would say is, I know my tools are on the ground. I don't have a lot of workspace, but I use files to clean up all these edges here where I've cut. And I do that because if you use a grinder or grinding disc or anything, you're going to make that material even thinner than it already is. So files work really good to clean it up and not take too much material away. So another excessively long update. I'm gonna keep whittling away at this thing for a little while. It's almost the end of the day for me, because obviously I have a mess I gotta clean up, and you know, it's also cold as crap outside. So yeah, I'm gonna whittle away at this some more. I'm gonna whittle away at it, and yeah. Hey guys, well, it's the next day. You probably saw in the time lapse. I just came out this morning and started working. This crap's not that exciting. It's fun for me. I really like doing it. It's not very fun to watch. I don't know what time it is, but I have a long time this morning already just fitting this panel, and obviously you saw I spent time yesterday fitting it. That's just the way it goes. Side note, check out this koozie. I got some pretty cool friends that had that made for me. I'm gonna show you where I'm at. I'm pretty happy with the fit up as it is. It's just lightly tacked on there. So I've kind of, something I'm really not good at that I want to get better at is like hammer and dolly work, which I have a lot of it that needs to be done on this truck. So usually when I weld in panels, I just I do my best not to warp them, and I grind them and clean them up, and they kind of are what they are, which in some spots they have to be that way because you can't get to the backside or whatever. But I have a little gas. I'm a gassy boy. I don't know why these things come into my brain. Yeah, so I'm trying to get better at that. I kind of tacked this all up and went behind and hammered it and dollied it. Hammer and dollied it. Whatever you call it. And I think I got it pretty flat. Also, as you guys know, if I'm going to weld anything, the weather's going to go to crap. So, yeah, it's now calling for snow flurries here shortly, and it's freezing cold. But that may actually help me keep the panel cold, so even though I'm freezing my butt off, I'm going to keep working. Yeah, let me show you what I got, and I'll quit. I've been rambling for 2.5 minutes already. Let me flip the camera around, and I'll show you where we're at, and then it'll be another time lapse of me tacking this thing together, and trying not to freeze. Hang on. So, obviously the fender is upside down, but this is the easiest way for me to show you both sides. I've got all this fit up really well. As you can see, probably there's really not any gap. I mean, obviously there's a little bit, but there's not any big gaps, which is good. This right here, you can't really tell because I tacked right there. I had to manipulate that quite a bit because these body lines were very different. But I think I got it where it's going to be good enough. I split this here to pull this in because it just would not line up the way I feel like it should. And now it's hard to tell, but all of that seems to flow in a pretty good straight line. I've got some great big ugly booger welds back here. We're just gonna ignore those. I had a little issues and they're holding, so we're just gonna be good with that. Just don't look at them. Here's the back side. I got all this fitting decent. This hangs over a little bit, no big deal. I'll just grind that down. Yeah, I mean, some people say you gotta clean the back side of the metal too. I don't really think it makes any difference. You can see that even those little tacks brought burned all the way through, so that's good. Let me grab, hang on, probably just gave you a close-up of my big ugly booger welds, so that was smart. Hang on, I'm juggling, got one hand. This is gonna go right back in here, something like that. This is gonna require a little bit of manipulating to get to go where it needs to go. Honestly, this panel kind of fits like crap, but that's just what you get out of the aftermarket these days. I mean, I'm sure it's hard to recreate these panels, but I feel like if they could do it in the 60s, we should probably be able to do it in 2023 or 4 or whatever year it is. But anyway, that's besides the point. So yeah, that's kind of the update. All that's left now is just a bunch of what I'm probably going to do is weld this inside seam and get it cleaned up where I can put this inner panel in, and I'll get some more tacks on here kind of in between. The biggest thing is try not to get it too hot. Heat and sheet metal don't like each other, even though you have to use heat to weld them together. So, but anyway, that's where I'm at. Yeah, I'm just gonna take my time. It's kind of good to have an air compressor set up to cool this thing back down, but honestly, it's so cold outside, and I've got a lot of draw on the electrical already. We got pottery kilns running and welder and stuff. I don't want to hook up a compressor too, because my little one doesn't. It runs constantly because it has no capacity. So I'm gonna stop rambling, and I'm gonna get this deal tacked up, and yeah, you'll probably see that on time lapse, and then I'll show you probably what it looks like once I get to the first step of grinding it. It's probably be the next thing you see. So see you then. Okay, well, it's a little while later. Got a little bit of sunshine, so that's nice. What is not nice, it's actually pretty upsetting for me, if I'm being honest, even though it sounds ridiculous. My little Lincoln welder appears to have crapped the bed. The motor that runs the drive roller thing, it's not working. I was fighting with it while trying to weld this thing, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, and then it finally quit completely, which of course it waited till like the very end, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to show this or not, because it's frustrating and also a little embarrassing, because I should be better at this. But basically, with it not feeding right, it didn't ever get hot enough. It didn't get the material hot enough, and I should have checked more, but I didn't. I was trying to go fast, and it bit me in the butt. So if you can see here, and a little bit here. The weld actually cracked a little bit. So anywhere it was cracked, and even a lot of that wasn't cracked, but just I'll probably end up redoing the whole thing. I cut a groove in it, and I'm about to weld it back. I'm very fortunate because I do have another welding machine, so I'm very fortunate for that. But I am also very upset because the little Lincoln was my first ever welder, and I've had it, I don't know, 15 years probably, and it was given to me because it was wore out then. But I've been able to do a lot with it, and I love that little welder. But it's the way it goes. So anyway, I'm pretty bummed because this had actually cleaned up really good, but as I got it cleaned up, I started to see the crack, and then I kind of chased it, and this is where I'm at. So instead of leaving it and possibly having a problem later, or fixing it and not telling you guys because it's a little embarrassing for me, I should be better than that. But anyway, I'm going to weld this all back and clean it up, and that's going to be it for this deal, for this video probably, because yeah, this just takes a long time, and I've been running my mouth too long, which makes the video even longer. So I'm going to get back to work, and I will show you once I have it back at this point, but all welded. I'll show you what it looks like, and then I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get some heat in it so I can put some paint on it. Speaking of paint, this stuff is why I haven't been too worried about the paint. I wanted it all one color, but I knew I had a bunch of grinding and stuff to do on it. So yeah, don't worry about my paint job, all right? It sucks, but I'm okay with it. I'll update you guys when I get done fixing this again for the second time. Hell yeah. Well, there it is. You can definitely see the line where I welded it. Focus. I mean, there's a little bit, you can feel just a little bit of an indent. I tried to work that out the best I could. Hold on. Here's this piece. Hold on. Let me. Come on. It's hard to do one-handed. Here's this piece. You know, it is what it is, okay? No one's gonna see the inside of it, except for anyone who watches this video, I guess. But it is, I don't know how well you guys can see. It is a little, I don't know. I'm not 100% happy with it, but it's not the worst either. So yeah, it is what it is. This thing's super cold. I really need to get paint on it, but I gotta figure out a way to heat it up. Yeah, so that'll be the last part of this video. I'll put some paint on it and I will show it again. The paint will show everything you can't see in bare metal. So yeah, you guys will see how bad it actually is once I paint it. But just hang tight for a second. I'm gonna figure out some way to heat this up, and we'll get some paint on it. See how bad of a job I did. And I don't want you to think I forgot about the paint shaker. Yeah. Man down. Woo! You guys went for a little ride. Dang battery keeps coming at me. What the hell? Woo! Okay. Sometimes I feel like I make things worse instead of better. But just for reference, this is the main chunk of what I cut out before I put this panel on, and there's the panel. So I could definitely argue against myself on how bad it looks, but you know, it's it doesn't look like this anymore, so that's good. And on that note, we're gonna wrap this deal up. I put a lot of hours in that deal, and it's kind of hard to make that into a video because I'm pretty slow at this stuff, but I spend a lot of time trying to make it as good as I can. I'm also still learning, so it just adds time. But yeah, that's what I got done this week. The good thing is now I'm set up to do the rockers for the next video, which you guys will see that. Taking the front end apart took a little while, but it's all good. I talk bad about a lot of the stuff I do, mostly jokingly, but also I'm pretty bad at some things. So there's that, but I'm pretty happy with how that came out. It looks a lot better than it did, obviously. Could it have been better? Yes. Will I do better next time? Probably, because you gotta learn from your mistakes, and that's how I've gone through my whole life, and that's how I'm gonna keep going through it. And all I can say is get out and work on your junk, because you ain't gonna learn nothing watching me screw up. You'll learn a lot more screwing up yourself and then figuring out how to fix it. That's what I've done. So on that note, I'm gonna wrap this deal up. I'm not gonna hold you guys any longer. Get out, work on your projects. That's all I can say. They're not gonna get done. Just watch me, but also watch me a little bit. Okay, watch my video. Maybe watch some videos, but also get out and work on your project. Check the links in the description. I appreciate everybody who watches, subscribes, comments. It is great motivation for me, and I'm happy about it. So keep it up, and I'll keep doing crappy work and putting it on YouTube. Come on. Appreciate you watching. Don't forget, like and subscribe. See you on the next one.